For 61 years, the official record said the 1963 championship was decided by talent and grit alone. But the league's own front office made sure you'd never learn that the scout who saw the fix coming, the man who tried to stop it, was erased from every program, every media guide, every Hall of Fame ballot that followed. That's the story they tell. It isn't what happened. Someone made sure you'd never hear this. Here's what the records were rewritten to hide. His name was Everett Marsh. Scouts called him Ev. In 1963, professional football was still half-improvised. No computers, no analytics departments, just men with stopwatches and notebooks driving from one dusty stadium to the next. Marsh worked for a franchise that doesn't need naming yet, grading players by instinct sharpened over 2 decades. He found talent nobody else saw. He also watched film obsessively, more than any scout of his era. That habit is what put him in the room when something didn't add up. What he noticed that December would cost him everything, and the league would spend 6 decades making sure nobody noticed it had happened at all. The official history says the championship game was close because both teams were evenly matched. Look at the surviving box score and that story falls apart in under a minute. The favored team's starting fullback, a bruising runner who'd averaged 5 yards a carry all season, was pulled after 9 snaps with what the program called a minor ankle injury. No trainer's report exists. No x-ray. No follow-up story in a single newspaper the following week, which is strange, because injuries to star players were front-page news in every other game that season. Marsh's private notebook, recovered decades later from a storage unit in Ohio, has one line about that substitution. Nothing wrong with his ankle, something wrong with the spread. The point spread. He wasn't talking about injuries, he was talking about money. The convenient explanation is that Marsh was a disgruntled employee passed over for a front office promotion, inventing a grudge to settle a score. That's what the 2 surviving team memos about him claim. But the timeline doesn't hold up. Marsh wrote that notebook entry during the 3rd quarter in real time, before the outcome was decided, before there was any reason to be bitter about anything. A man inventing a grudge after the fact doesn't predict the ending while it's still happening. He predicted it. And 2 weeks later, he was gone. Here's what actually happened, and here's who made it happen. Marsh didn't just write a note. He took it to the commissioner's office in person in January of 1964 with film reels under his arm, asking for an inquiry into 3 games from that season, not just the championship. He believed a small circle of bettors connected to at least one owner had reached a player on the roster, maybe 2. The league didn't investigate. The league buried it. Internal correspondence, 3 letters, still sealed in a private collector's archive and only partially surfaced in 2019, shows the commissioner's office quietly agreeing that any public inquiry would damage the growth of the sport at a critical juncture. Growth. That was the word they used, not integrity. Growth. Marsh was fired within the month, officially for philosophical differences with ownership. His name was pulled from the media guide the following season. It never reappeared. Team historians who compiled the franchise's 50th anniversary yearbook in the 1990s couldn't find him in a single archived photo credit. Someone had gone back and scrubbed the captions too. That's not neglect. That's not the passage of time losing track of a minor employee. That takes deliberate, sustained effort across decades by people who understood exactly what Marsh had seen and exactly what it would mean if his name stayed attached to that season. What it changes is simple and ugly. It means the championship game millions of fans still call one of the greatest of that era was, by the account of the one man who studied it closest, compromised before it finished. It means the sport's growth into the empire it became was built, in part, on a decision to protect that growth over the truth. And it cost Marsh everything. His career, his reputation, 61 years of being written out of a game he helped build. He died in 1988, working as a high school equipment manager in a state he'd never lived in before, telling almost no one what he'd seen. His daughter kept the notebook. She's the reason any of this surfaced at all. The 3 sealed letters are still sealed. Only fragments have ever surfaced. Nobody has explained who else in that room agreed that growth mattered more than the game itself, or whether the same calculation gets made today, quietly somewhere, every single season. What else is in those letters, and who's still deciding you shouldn't read them?